Welcome back to SFR. My name is Jamie Morris, and alongside me is Libby Simmons, and we're here for the Brazilian Grand Prix for round 19. We're coming towards the closing stages of the championship, and not many races left. The championship is wide open, but we've got a new championship leader, which is Burmeister. And alongside me tonight, you alright?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Better now on the right channel. Thank you so much, Laser. That was very embarrassing indeed. But we've got the RB of Sonic Hawk on a lap time. Lord Brad, the top G, goes quickest with an 8.1. So that's the quickest time so far. Sonic Hawk has bad top. Mindful Wasp goes into P2. 7/10 adrift there from top G. So obviously it's his first lap time. So he's not going to really get the feel for the track just yet. Zeno goes quickest with a 7.9. The first driver in the sevens. Then quick shot because we did miss a few minutes of qualifying. We missed 4 minutes. And that's why all the drivers there set a lap time very quickly as Keith goes into P4. But we are missing Martin, unfortunately, tonight. I think Martin has been banned by Sonic Hawk, so the RB has been replaced by Ginger Tiger, unfortunately for him. But welcome, Ginger Tiger. Let's see if he makes his full debut here for the rest of the season, helping RB in the championship.
Yes, definitely. I remember when I was watching him round America, around Texas, he had a good race there. He was just unlucky with a couple of the spins that he had. However, hopefully he does very well in the RB, in which he is.
Dino Bino Bambino goes into P3 there. Burmeister goes into P3 now, just replaces as he gets a nice toe off the back of his teammate, and that was Oliver. Both Williams working well in harmony. We saw that back at the USA Grand Prix in Mexico. It was Burmeister who took the victory and took the championship lead. It's looking good for the Dutchman because he's not been in the championship so far, but now in the later stages has really shown his mettle and really showed to be a championship true contender. He's in the lead by 50 points ahead of Owen Madsar, who's currently second. Adams in P3, 1 point away from Madsar. It's all to play for in the championship, a lot on the line in the last few races. All three of them have got to pay attention in the championship. Calvin Racer goes into P4 in the Kickstarter. We know he's had a few good results, bad results as well to go with it, but at the same time still P4 and everything to play for, with about 32 or 31 points separating him and Adams in P3 there. So a lot of catching up to do for Calvin. He's had his own mistakes this season, so is Cassidy. He's also missed a few races too, which is not ideal. Here comes Adams now coming towards this twisty middle sector here as he gets back on the floor once again. What a place to overtake as well. What a place to watch racing in the past history. 2024 Formula One Grand Prix was a fantastic race to watch. What is with the dry weather? Only divvied against rain, says Silver Fox there. I presume you had rain back at the Brazilian Grand Prix yesterday, but I think it was dry later on because we saw Matt G out drag Wiggles to the line. Matt G with a fantastic slipstream all the way through the straight where Adams is, took the victory just ahead of Wiggles. Here comes Adams now to set a time of an 8.5, and the championship contender needs a better time than that.
Yes, absolutely. It wasn't the greatest of conditions. I sort of messed up with my setup yesterday. I put a dry setup on instead of a wet setup because I misread the radar. However, the track itself is really nice. You've got the dips down in the track, and then you've got the nice complex section as you come up to turn 9, coming up into turn 10. Just before you come onto the fast, sort of the main straight as you come out of turn 14, as you go flat to the floor, down the dip and over the finish line itself. So yeah, no, really good circuit, and hopefully, like you said, the championship is wide open, so we should have some nice racing with us tonight.
Hopefully, indeed. Zenum, the pole man, back in, I think it was the Brazilian Grand Prix. No, sorry, this is the Brazilian Grand Prix. Back in USA. Took a few poles this season, has Zenum, but unfortunately can't convert them into a race win just yet. He's had one pole this season, surprisingly. It's Electro Dan sets the time, lights there with a 7.9, and that's currently 200 quicker than Zenum. Electro Dan, I think he made his debut back at the Mexican Grand Prix. I remember him, he had a decent result as well. I think he finished inside the top 5. He went from the hards to medium strategy, but unfortunately his mediums died out towards the end. The mediums to hards is the way to go. It was all about survival back at the Mexican Grand Prix, and we saw a few people struggle towards the end of the stint on the medium compound tyres. The people went from hards to mediums because the mediums just did not last towards the end. Once the mediums go, they go. There's just no recovering it, and therefore he starts sliding around. I had a race around Mexico last week in SFR for my first race in SFR since 5 years ago. That was a very long time ago, and it went well until until I ran out of fuel. Didn't put enough fuel in the car. Was in P4 at the time, and I was chasing down Crossfire Strikes, but I don't think I had the pace fully to catch him. Here comes Oliver now towards the line. Goes to set a 8.2, and he goes up into P6. Williams P5 and P6 there. That's great from those two.
Yes, definitely, and like you said earlier, again, they're working together. They're sort of helping out each other like they did in Texas itself, and I think it's a great driver pairing. You got Oliver, who's sort of come down from Div 1, however, Burmeister saying, look, I'm here, I can do the job, however, I'm putting you first because you're higher up in the championship and can possibly win the championship itself. So absolutely amazing driver pairing as we got Atlas Copo now, just coming up round into the final corner. He's getting a slipstream from his teammate Kluser, and he's set a faster sector 2 and he goes into P3 with a 1 minute 8.0.
Very helpful indeed there from Klusler. Both Red Bulls working well together as Atlas Copo. They've both had a podium this season as Klusler and Atlas Copo. One for Klusler back at the Dutch GP, and Atlas Copo picked his first podium of the season back at the Imola Grand Prix too. But it looks like Copo went for a lap time. Klusler went for a lap time, but I think he just backed off there, so I'm not quite sure what happened to him. But now on board with the championship leader, Burmeister makes his way down towards turn 2, and now turn 3, taking the shortest distance through there, using overtake as well to boost away the corner, heading towards the rest of Posture Straight before we dip down towards the breakers on turn 4 as we head towards the fast left-hander. Slight lock up on the entry, a bit hesitant on the steering there, gets back on the throttle very nicely, no signs on the rear end, stepping out as we make our way down towards Ferradura, turn 6 and turn 7. Look at that, no lift off through there. It's 2 downshifts, lost a bit of speed on the entry, so that's something Burmeister needs to work on because it's been a bit wide at the corner too. You want to take a more tighter line through there, but as we exit now through turn 9 we go, heading towards turn 10. We saw Liam Lawson, I think it was Sergio Perez who spun in the race. Lewis Hamilton and Alex Albon made contact there back in 2019. Coming towards John Sauer, 2/10 up as Burmeister. I think he'll be good enough to put him on pole, but I think he needs to find a bit more time to put himself a bit of stability between first and second. So here is Burmeister with the DRS wide open, the Red Bull not giving him a tow as we'll make our way down towards the straight. Is Burmeister going to go pole? No, he didn't. He lost a bit of time there out John Sauer, and he goes into P5 just ahead of Energy Dan in the Alpine. Shout out to Dan as well for commentating for Div 1 last week on Wednesday. Great comms despite being on his own, and did an amazing job as well. So thank you very much, Dan, for commentating.
Yes, no, it's nice. It's like when we have other drivers like Dan himself or me and you, it's great just to sort of have a driver's perspective of how we do, as we see Zenon now coming up with a 1 minute 7.9 onto pole position, so he's got passive pole position at the moment, as we've got Mansell who's just started a lap now as he comes up into turn 4, going around into turn 5, just up before he comes into the 6th to 5th gear. You're looking at round before you come into hard onto the brakes into turn 9, I believe that is, as you come up into through like a twisted section into turn 10, which is you're looking at about 3rd gear corner. Some people drop it down into 2nd. He is getting up on his lap. His lap times are coming up around this 4.3 kilometre track. He's now coming up out of the final corner, foot flat to the floor again. He hasn't got any cars helping with DRS as he does come round. DRS wide open. Where can this put him? P8 there with 1 minute 8.1 for the championship contender.
I thought Mansell will go further than that, but if you look at the gaps between first, down to 11, that's 2/10, almost 3/10. Oliver and Smoke have set the exact same lap time in P10 and P11. Look how tight the grid is. That's unbelievable around this 4.3 kilometre circuit. It's a very difficult circuit indeed, very technical, especially in the middle sector there, but all these drivers being so close together, I think we're in for a good race. Here comes Keith now, I think on a brand new set of the soft compound tyres, going for a lap time. The 2-time race winner this season, picked up a win back at the Chinese Grand Prix, and I think he picked up a win. Where was it? I think it was. Let me find out because it was quite a while ago. It was back in the Chinese Grand Prix. It was in Bahrain. It was a while ago. The first race of the season when him and Matt G were first and second on that day. So here is Keith then using the exit of turn 4, grabbing a lot of curb as well on the inside as we make our way now towards Ferradura. Let's see how he takes it. Downshift, a slight lift off there. Nice slide to the corner. Gets back on the floor as we go towards this fast right-hander we go. And now we're dipping down to slow speed corner. Just want to hold the floor there. Make sure you pick up the traction of the exit, which he does do. Very nice and smooth there. No signs of the rear stepping out, going down his turn 2. Takes a bit of inside curb there. Uses the camber of the curb there to rotate the car as we go down towards John Sao. He's currently 2 tenths up, 2.5 tenths almost. This could put him on pole, but I think he needs to find a bit more time there to see. Try to extend his margin over Zeno. We've got Electro down. We've got Lord Brad, the top G, going for a flying lap too. Keith going for a flying lap. Here he is then across the line. McLaren goes. Where he's going to put his car on pole by 1600ths of a second there, Keith. And let's see, can he maintain pole position there? This could be very tight and deep between all these drivers. Majority of them are in the pit lane waiting for the final stages. I think we've got Cassidy out there on a flying lap. The man that took pole, I think, back in the Miami Grand Prix and at the Canadian Grand Prix too. What a fantastic lap time that was for Cassidy to pull it out at the very end there. Never forget that pole lap because it was very, very, very late in qualifying on wet conditions. Here he is, flicking up. Look at the off-board camera there. The car rotated very nicely, carried his speed uphill before we drop downhill towards turn 8 we go then. Just want to be very careful, be very gingy on the throttle there as we go towards turn 10 now, braking in a straight line. As we go downhill now, pick up the throttle once again, a bit of movement on the rear end there before we go down towards Magello. A very nice corner indeed. We saw Fernando will also crash there. Haven't seen anyone crash there since Romain Grosjean, as Cassidy picks up 2.2 seconds on his personal best, but we'll be hoping for more than that. So Cassidy out of sync here in terms of the rest of them, as he tends to go earlier than the other drivers. But here he is, then Cassidy, the Sauber, makes his way towards the line. Where's he going to be? Where's he going to put himself? He's going to put himself as a P15. So that's 5 tenths between first and 15th. That's unbelievable.
I was going to say, this Div 2, it is a close division, especially around this track. Everyone's really close together, and this is what we want. We want like the close racing and the close lap times. As we got Lord Brad, the top G, as he goes into pole with a 1 minute 7.873. So again, like we were saying, it's close and there's lap times, and as Lord Brad, the top G, has proved just now. That he has got the pace to be up there.
Brad, I think Brad started outside the top 10 in Mexico. I'm not quite sure, but he did go for the alternate strategy, but still finished inside the top 5, did Brad G. And I think he made his debut back in the Spanish Grand Prix as well, where he didn't really have a good qualifier, but still had an amazing pace on the old medium compound tyres to keep up with the rest of the drivers on the hard compound tyres, and he really showed what he could have done there. Here comes Keith downhill towards the middle sector, 2 tenths down, but he is going for a second lap on these soft compound tyres. So as these soft compound tyres reach the end of their juice, Dino Bino Bambino is on a flying lap in the Ferrari. Here he is at a few hundreds up in the first sector, but looking for a much better time coming towards his middle sector. This is where he can gain the most time here in his middle sector, just picking up the throttle in the slow speed corners quicker than other people, just trying to make sure you don't lose the back end of the car. There he is there, just being balancing the throttle there to make sure you maintain traction before we head down towards turn 10 in second gear. Some people like to take it through second, third, but my preference is third gear as we drop downhill now towards the end of the middle sector. What's he going to do? Unfortunately for him, he's a few hundreds down in the middle sector is Dino Bino Bambino, and here he is out Judge Sal, then flat out Judge Sal. You can't make any mistakes there whatsoever because you lose time all the way down the straight and open up an opportunity. And here comes Dino Bino Bambino coming towards the line. It's P9 only for him. I'm going to stutter say that name.
I was going to say, it's a good name, don't get me wrong. It's one that you want to try and say when you've had a couple to drink as well. That'd be an interesting one. But yeah, no, everyone's showing really fast lap times around here. As we've got Electro down, I think he's just coming round on a lap. Unless he's just finished one, I'm not too sure, I've just missed out there. Mansell's on another flying lap now as he comes through to sector 2, sorry. He is giving his teammate Mindful Wasp a bit of a tow there. He's just sort of sitting there behind him, so I'm wondering if they're going to try and tag team each other and use each other for that little bit of a slipstream, even though there is a little bit of a gap with each other there.
It's Sorry, I was taking a drink, but here he is.
Yeah.
Then Mansell
No,
dropping
no.
downhill towards the end of the middle sector. Mansell is 2/10 up in the middle sector. This could put him into P2, but can he find more time in his last sector? Ideally, I think that Mindful Wasp needs to be in front of him to give him a toe down the straight, but it's not to be. Here comes Mansell now, powering his way towards the line. Where can they Aston Martin put his car? It's P5, and the gap between first and fifth is 1/10 of a second, and that's it for Mansell. He best hope P5 or else dropping down the order. Here comes Zena now. Zena has unfortunately invalidated in the first sector somewhere, so he won't be improving either. Electro Dan is not going to improve. He's headed back in the pit lane. Where is Smoke? Smoke crossed the lines going to P5, displaces Mansell, pushed him into P6. Atlas Copo now coming towards the head of the Ferradura corner, going down into turn 8, turn 9, a bit wide, compromised into turn 9. As he picks up the throttle once again, does that last Copo as we make our way now towards turn 10, locking up on the entry, but gets the car rotated, gets on the throttle as soon as the car straightened up. Downhill, he's backed off, unfortunately for him, so that won't be Paul. But Lord Bradgee picks up his first pole of the season by 200ths of a second, and look at the gap from P1 to P5. That's incredible, separated by over under a tenth, sorry. Half a tenth, there we go. Just under half a tenth, there we go. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I'm just watching Burmeister now. He's a couple of attempts up on his lap time as he's coming around the final corner. He's going to have a little bit of a slipstream as he puts the DRS wide open as he comes up towards the line. Can he improve where he is? He stays in P8.
Wow, what a qualifying session that was then. All these drivers being so close together, and I think we're in for a fantastic race here tonight in SFR at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Let's see what happens in the race. Anything could happen. Oliver coming towards Johnson, but he's not on a lap time. Where's Cassidy in the south? But Cassidy unfortunately has invalidated his lap time, stays P16, and both RBs are in last place. Ginger Tiger and Sonic Hawk, and Martin is looking there in frustration as he's now a spectator in the comments section, unfortunately for him. No longer racing here at SFR as he's got a boot from Sonic Hawk, but I think you would like to see Sonic Hawk in last place. But anyways, I'll go to the toilet, be right back.
Yeah, no worries. So just waiting for Oliver to finish going into the pits at the moment. And then hopefully the timer will tick down and we'll be able to ready to go for the race round Brazil. So rounding off at the top 10, we got Lord Brad, the top G in P1, got Electro Dan in P2, SFR Keeps in P3, Xenon in P4, Smoke in P5, Mansell in P6, Atlas Copo in P7, Burmeister in P8. Hopefully he can jump Mansell at the start to keep his championship hopes alive and keep ahead. Energy Dan in P9, Calvin in P10, Dino Bino Bambino in P11, Oliver in P12, Cluser in P13, Mindful Wasp in P14. Carrying on down the list, we have got Adams in P15, Cassidy in P16, Ginger Tiger in P17, and SFR Sonic Hawk in P18. Let's see, Martin's engineering for the boys in the Salvers. So, yeah, that'd be Salvers have got a very good engineer there, then, Martin. Be interesting to see what the different drivers do for strategy. Some might go medium hard, some might go hard medium, all depending on what they decide for the track. And yeah, thank you, Martin. Yeah, no, it's good to be back on comms. Been a while. Yeah, been a while, but I've wanted to go back into it, and I've got a very good comms person in the comms box with me tonight to help me get along with that. just waiting for people to decide their setups, make the adjustments to the fuel, decide when they're going to box for their strategy as well. So I do believe we might have a Jamie back in the comms box, so it's not completely left me on my own.
Can't do that. But yeah,
Nah.
It's a sunny Brazil here in SFR for Division 2. I heard there was rain in Division 3, but while I watched in Division 3, that Matt G set up Mr. Wiggles perfectly because he was right behind him coming out of John Sal. And I've seen this plenty of times. If you don't get the job done out of turn 1 and turn 4, try and stay close in the middle sector and out-drag your opponent. And I think I did it to Laser, if I remember correctly, a few years ago when I raced with him in a different league, or was it Hurricane? Sorry about the noise in the background, that's a firework. That's very loud indeed, I can hear it out my earphones. But yeah, if Laser's here, can you remember when I out-dragged you towards the line? I don't think it was you, but I do remember something about Brazil. But apologies about the noise in the background once again. It's very, very loud. Bonfire night tonight, but I think we'll see some fireworks here in Brazil with all the action we're seeing. But we haven't even talked about... Jesus, that is very loud.
It is, I can hear it from here.
Distracted me a bit, but let's talk about F1 24, the Brazilian Grand Prix. So, the Brazilian Grand Prix, we know that in Verstappen started down in 17th place, made up 2-3 places on the opening lap, and that was a brilliant race. No matter if you love or hate Verstappen, you got to give credit where it's due. Max Verstappen produced some fantastic races, showing why he's a 3-time world champion. And we know Verstappen has lost some credit recently due to the Mexican Grand Prix, but at the same time, he reminded us why he's a 3-time world champion. And sometimes it's a shame what Verstappen does sometimes, because we know he's a great racer, but he just loses his head a bit and starts doing some defensive moves that are not in the rule book. But at the same time, when Verstappen delivers, it shows us why he's a great driver. From P17 to P1, it's not skill, as Lando Norris says, it's talent, and he's driven beautifully and he deserves that win too. No matter if you're a Lando Norris fan or not, I'm not a Verstappen fan, but at the same time, I can see talent where it's given as well. So Verstappen did a fantastic job. Ocon and Gasly on the podium together. Colin Pinto crashing, same as Sainz. Lawrence Stroll spin on the formation lap. I'll talk about on the formation lap. Adams got disqualified. But tyre strategies, a few people on the soft compound tyres, which is very interesting. I didn't expect them to be introduced in this race, but we'll see. Even Mansell in P6 has gone for the soft. So let's see if his strategy works in his favours here.
Yeah, I've literally just got the tyres up myself. And yeah, I'm wondering whether they're wanting to try and gain some positions, look after the softs whilst the mediums try and go flying off. I'm wondering if they're hoping for a couple of incidents ahead of them, that was someone else, that was someone in the house that spun round. Yeah, so I'm wondering if they're hoping for a different strategy and try and get a jump start. Well, not a jump start, but like a flying start against all the others and try and build that gap up so they get a bit of a jump, pretty much. But yeah, no, it'd be interesting. Be interesting to see what there is.
Can Electro down in P2, the man that spun at turn 10. And let's see, can he jump Lord Bladder Top G into P1. We've seen a few overtakes going down to turn 1 recently. George Russell and Lando Norris again. Lando Norris losing starts there. We saw, I think, Sebastian Vettel took on Valtteri Bottas, Max Verstappen on Lewis Hamilton, and Vettel and Hamilton before as well. Plenty of moves going down into turn 1. I can't wait to see the side by side action we're going to see as people, unfortunately, getting their grid stops wrong, so they're parked a few metres back. But here we go then. Keith has also been disqualified, so he gets pushed a few metres back. But we are waiting for the lights then. We'll see what happens around here. This 36 lap race around here in Brazil is going to be an absolute thriller. Don't go anywhere. Here comes the lights. 4, 5 lights. And Adams gets a jump start immediately. Away we go for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Who gets a better start off the line? Bit of wheel spin there for Top G. Will he be challenged into turn 1? Here comes the Electro down. Into one he goes. The Ferrari creeping up the inside. Bit of contact too. More contact as well. The Ferrari, Vizina went back into the back of the Haas there. He rejoins the circuit. Gets pushed down to P5. Top G lost it out of turn 1. Had to go on the brakes. Keith went to the back of him. It was a constant effect. But here comes Electro down back around the outside. He can't do it. Here comes the Ferrari up the inside. I've seen him on smoke. Smoke's on the hard compound tyres. They're not getting the grip he needs. Mansell is stationary in P6, not getting the start he wants. He's on them soft compound tyres, but should do as he climbs up the hill towards Veradora. Is there a chance to get past in the early stages? No. He stays behind as Carvin Racer looking for a move on Enichidan in the background. Can he make a move going around the outside? Let's see then as both drivers trying to hold on to P10. Here we go, gets shoved onto the grass there. Cast can see the place, and here comes the Red Bull now along on the outside into turn 10 we go. Carvin has been demoted into P11. Dino Bino Bambino is in P12 ahead of Oliver, 13th place there, but great start from Top G. But as Keith has Electro down, pits many from wind damage after hitting the back of him, not quite sure, but it gets stabilised once again as we go up the hill now towards Junsao. On the main straight we go. Here comes Manson now in the slipstream of the Alp, pulls to the right hand side, Force going around the outside. Here comes Electro down around the outside into turn 1 we go. Has the inside line for 2, but he can't quite make it stick, has to bail out of it, otherwise there's contact made. But Manson is up into P5, not yet. Here comes Smoke now, side by side, not done with Manson just yet. DRS is enabled, they get DRS on the straight. Electro down is up into P2 ahead of Keith. Manson goes around the outside, he takes P5 finally away from Smoke there. But look at that, what a first opener that was.
I was going to say, yeah, all due respect, the Mansell and Smoke there, they're clean drivers, they've raced with each other for a good couple of seasons. And yeah, no, they just give each other space, but not too much in which they give the other one the chance to get ahead of them. But yeah, like you said, really, wow, entertaining opening lap. A couple of contacts made, but I don't think anyone's sort of been too damaged with it, as we've got Dino Bino Bambino battling with Mindful Wasp, I believe. This Mindful Wasp is all over the back of him. He's going to get DRS down this back on the main straight now. Which side is he going to try and go? He's going to try and go on the inside of him, on the Ferrari, and he'll make that move stick up into turn 1.
Nice move there from Manson, went a bit deep, so when the Ferrari come back in that Xenon, they're riding the curve at turn 3, DRS enabled once again. No, the Ferrari does not have DRS there, but he opens up finally, but a bit too late. Here comes Smoke now on the inside, into turn 4 we go, and Smoke up into P5 with the hard compound tyre. Xenon is dropping backwards, we've seen this recently as well in race pace. Xenon tends to drop backwards there. Unfortunately, he does not have the consistency. He has the qualifying pace, but in terms of the race, just tends to drop backwards, but hopefully he can stick in this trade, try and settle into a rhythm there. Goes a bit wide into turn 7, goes into turn 8 there, but Electro Dan, I've noticed now, is back in DRS range of Top G. Top G on the first lap of the race took the opportunity to break away from the DRS. Whilst Electro Dan and Keith was squabbling away there, he pulled away from a second, but now Electro Dan's back in 1 second race. The battle for first is back on there. We've got a few people swapping places in the midfield. Mindful Wasp is ahead of Oliver, going out of Junsao, overtook him in an obscure place there, but great move nonetheless from Mindful Wasp into P12. Mindful Wasp had great pace in Mexico, was inside the top 3 battle. Unfortunately, when he came out of the pit lane, lost his wing and retired from the pit lane there. He actually sets fast up to the Grand Prix, does Mindful Wasp, but Mansell in no man's land currently in P4, sorry. He's on the top compound tyres, not really gaining the top 3 there, so I don't think his strategy is paying him any dividends, unfortunately, there. Can he try and catch up towards the top 3? I'm not quite sure. Are those softs going to last later on? The gap is 1.4 seconds now. He's under threat from Smoke behind on the hard compound tyres, though, so Smoke on the two-step harder hard compound tyres is still in the DRS range of Mansell, so not really working out for the Aston Martin there in P4, dragging along the DRS train behind him too, so Mansell is under massive pressure there in P4, fortunately, on the softs.
He got the start he wanted. I don't think the softs are working as to how he wants to, as he is dropping back from Keith's in front of him, and Smoke is there for when Mansell, if and when he does make a mistake, and he just keep him within that DRS range at the moment of hopefully overtaking him and then pulling away to carry on and try and battle up into Keith's, as Electro Dan takes the lead of the race into turn 1.
He does. Burmeister side by side, and we see him going into turn 2, turn 3 now. Burmeister has the inside line, the racing line. Will Top G get Electro down back on the straight? Here we go, the DRS enabled, but he settles into P2. Knowing he doesn't have to go for an overtake. He'll Smoke on the inside into 4 now, but can't quite make it move there. Mansell hangs around the outside and stays in P4. Not really working out the soft compound tyres. Those softs now will start to degrade quickly, and therefore the tyres will start to overheat. The car will slide around, and he'll be in no man's land, unfortunately, by the top 3 continues to pull away the medium compound tyres. Can Mansell get this gap under a second and join the rest in the DRS train there and try and hang on to the top 3? But we'll see then. I think Burmeister's now up into P6. Remember, he's always got great pace. He sacrifices qualified for the race pace, and he shows it later on in the Grand Prix too. And Smoke side by side into John Sauer, but he backs out of it. The more these guys bunch up, the more time they'll lose there. So that's really not really ideal there for Mansell and Smoke, because the gap is extending between 3rd and 4th place. But the DRS enabled now for Smoke side by side with the Aston Martin. I think the Aston Martin has to let this go, so because Smoke can try and pull away and catch up towards the top 3. Here comes the Williams of Burmeister, but he decides to back out of it. Smoke goes up into P4. Oh, Burmeister almost lost it out of turn 1 there. Seen picks himself up a 3-second time penalty. I think he got a pinch on the curb at turn 2. That's why he picked himself up a penalty. He has ridden the curb a lot this race, and unfortunately for him, picked himself up an early penalty. We haven't mentioned Adams in 18th place. He made a pit stop about 5 laps ago, so he must have full wind damage, unfortunately. That's going to be detrimental for his championship hopes.
Yes, it's really unfortunate for him. He was really up there. Adams was with the championship. I'm not too sure how far away he is in the actual championship from the lead of it. But yeah, it's just so unfortunate. I think he did have contact on the first lap, or whether, I know he had a drive through as well, I believe. So I'm wondering whether he served that and got that over and done with. As the top 3, they are pulling away now. You've got a 2-second gap, and they're starting to pull away. You've got Burmeister as well, he's wanting to get ahead of his championship rival again with Mansell and extend that championship lead as he can. As we do have some more battles happening within the pack, I believe, as well.
Top G retains lead of the Grand Prix. The top 3 just follow each other in the DRS train, swapping places at the right time. And in the background, that's Mindful Wasp making a move on Calvin. They both have DRS side by side between the 2 green coloured cars. The light green stays ahead, and Mindful Wasp, unfortunately for him, has to stay behind. I think he's got great race pace, as Mindful Wasp, but in terms of qualifying, just messed up and dropped it down the order where he shouldn't be. So he's trying to make his way back to the field, but he's stuck in that DRS train and can't find a way through. Then here comes the Saber Calvin up the inside of Klusler, going wheel to wheel into turn 8 we go. Klusler is on the soft compound tyres, of course, so he's starting to feel the effects of those soft compound tyres starting to die out, and therefore being under massive pressure. So the guys on softs hasn't really worked out, especially Adams down in P18. He did have a drive-through penalty. I did forget instantly, but that's why he's down in 18th place, unfortunately. So he's open for an early safety car around here in Brazil, but in terms of the battle for P1, here is Keith on the back of Electro Dan. So will he make a move going down into turn 1? Here he is then, pulls the left-hand side. Will he be daring on the brakes into turn 1? He can't do it. Electro Dan stays in P2, but further back, Atlas Copa is putting his fellow Norwegian compatriot under pressure. That is Zedam in P7 there, trying to hold on for dear life. And in the background, there's Calvin Racer looking for a move on Klusler on them soft compound tyres. That's the battle between the top 3, the remaining formation so far. But Smoke, unfortunately, can't catch up to this battle. Calvin and Mindful Wasp scrapping away again for round 2. And Calvin once again wins that battle.
Yes, no, I was just watching that as I was coming down that first straight. You had Calvin all over the back, and the Mindful Wasp was pulling himself up. I thought he was going to try and make a move into turn 4. However, he sort of backed off of that, and he's going to try and keep up with him so then he can try and take the advantage as they go down the main straight with the DRS.
Let's see what happens out of John Sauer then. Keith looking for a move on Electro Dan. Doesn't want to be stuck 3rd in the DRS train, so he's trying to force the move on Electro Dan then as we round off lap 8, goes on lap 9. DRS enabled for the Haas and the McLaren driver. Let's see what happens going down into 1. And Keith and Electro Dan now side by side with Top G going into turn 1 here. Top G trying to hold on, but he can't quite do so. And Electro Dan now takes the lead. But Ginger Tiger's retired.
Oh, Ginger Tiger.
That's a safety car. Where is he retired? That's a very strange place. I can't find the house.
Turn 1, just before turn 1 in the wall, I believe.
So I think somebody must have crashed into the wall, I believe, because that's a very weird place to crash indeed before turn 1. So a safety car has been deployed. Guess what that means for Mansell and the guys with mini compound tyres. They can go to the hards and take it towards the end. That's worked beautifully for the people on the softs and the mediums there. They can go to the hard compound tyres and they can take them to the end of the Grand Prix.
Yes, this will help out Adams as well, as he was just coming up to pit entry as the safety car came out. So that will now bring him into contention now to be joining back up with the pack for the restart. And he has gone onto the hard tyres as well, so he's going to try and hopefully take these to the end of the race.
I think you should. I think you can take them towards the end of the Grand Prix. So it's all about management before towards the end. So I think the medium compound tyres have been benefited, and the softeners too. Two softeners, that was Klusler, Mansell. Carvin Racing has picked himself up a penalty under a safety car. Multiple warners were expecting him to exceed track limits. Dan in the pit lane, same with Top G. Smoke has stood out there. He knows the medium compound tyres can't go towards the end, so he's betting on another safety car, and let's see who else has stayed out there. So I think the hard runners then have stayed out, and Gigi Tiger has left the session, so hopefully we can hear what happened to him. Maybe he went side by side with somebody, and somebody just moved on the brake in and put him in the wall. And unfortunately for RB, not going their way at all, although Sonic Hawk is in P6, but remember, he's on the old hard compound tyres. I like the situation when people on older tyres stay out, because it really spices things up, because the guys that's pitted onto new tyres, they get stuck behind old people on older tyres, and therefore could create a right mess, because they're trying to scrap away from the net lead of the Grand Prix whilst trying to negotiate their way through cars and older tyres. Contact can be made, places can be lost, and it can end in tears as well. So Electro Dan, the guys in new hardcore part tyres, have got to make their way through without losing too much time and losing places towards their rivals too. And we're in a situation now where the guys at the front of the field will be compromised towards the end, because they'll be betting on another safety car to help their strategy. Like Harry Kane, I think he was compromised back at the where was it, the Imola Grand Prix? I don't know, it wasn't the Imola Grand Prix. I remember the Grand Prix, but I can't remember which circuit, because it really compromised him. It was the Spanish Grand Prix where it compromised him. Then the second safety car came out, brought him back into play, and therefore be sync with the rest of the field and the strategy. So we'll see what happens to these hovers at the top six, and will another safety car come out and aid their strategy. But unfortunately it's not worked out for them. And Mindful Wasp, interestingly, in P4 has stayed out on the medium compound tyres. I don't think he wanted to double start behind his teammates, so he's gone for track position, but I don't think on those medium compound tyres he'll be able to defend, because we know the medium compound tyres don't really last that long, and therefore he'll start to feel the effects, and the guys right behind will be all at the back of him too.
Yes, I think it's going to be interesting, because Electro Dan and Mansell, Top G and Keefs, who have gone on to the new hard tyres, they're going to be hoping that the top six who stayed out are going to struggle with their tyres, and when they pit, then they're hoping that that's going to be their true positions then. So hopefully we will have an interesting race, an interesting restart, because they're all going to try and want to get ahead of the old tyre runners rather quickly. They can cut through the field and make a gap, so when they do make a pit stop, that they do keep behind them basically. And it's interesting, Smoke and Burmeister, Mansell's going to want to try and get ahead of them fairly quickly, or is going to want to try and keep within their distance, just so that he can when they do pit, he can jump them. As we do have a message that safety car is in this lap, so we'll hand it back over to you, Jamie, for the restart.
Berman Lasda, who made a lot of appearances back at the Brazilian Grand Prix this year, will head off back into the pit lane, and his duty is done until the next crash happens. Smoke will become the effective safety car leader, like the Alpine did of Esteban Ocon, who led the safety car restart away until the second safety car restart. Max Verstappen overtook him down into turn one with a great move. Here comes the Alpine now, weaving his tyres, and we'll see what happens then. Will it be carnage in this second half of the race? Here we go, Smoke pulls away, carving immediately on the back of Burmeister, as the Aston Martin's under threat there from Oliver as we go down towards turn one. Oliver goes around the outside, into turn one we go, but Mindful Wasp back on the inside, but Oliver's lost track position. Off the road goes Sonic Hawk, cuts the corner, and he might pick himself up and warning for that one. And here we are then, here comes the Haas on newer tyres side by side with Sonic Hawk, but Sonic Hawk used a bit of battery and stays ahead for the time being there, going down into turn four. So not quite sure what happened between Oliver and Mindful Wasp, but did they make contact, and did Sonic Hawk have to take a face action and go off the track there?
Yes, I wasn't really watching too much on that. It's just unfortunate that Oliver he nearly got the move done. However, I do think that there was a little bit of contact there in which pushed him off of the track. And Sonic Hawk, being racing legend he is, he's had many years experience in SFR. Obviously, he is our main guy for this. He's very experienced and he knows how to do the evasive moves. Hopefully he can try and get back up onto them and get some moves done, as he is under threat now from Electro Dan, as we have Calvin and Burmeister having a battle for P2 and P3 there, as we see Smoke starting to pull away and making that gap bigger.
Burmeister, we even left him around. I'm quite sure if he's not happy with that one, but it's racing at the end of the day. Carvin Racing was defending from Mindful Wasp, then turned that into an overtake down the inside of turn 1. That was a fantastic overtake, side by side, and Carvin Racing took away P2. He does have a 3-second time penalty, I believe, under the safety car after he exceeded Chandler. And Electro Dan then is still behind on the car, can't find a way past, and that's the difficulty here. Where is the best way to play? Oh, just hit the back of him like Oliver Behrman did on the back of Franco Colapinto. Exact same thing actually, but hopefully Electro Dan doesn't get a 10-second time penalty like the stewards gave Oliver Behrman. That was a very harsh penalty the stewards gave towards Behrman there. But as we make our way now towards Judd Sau, he's got a law at the top jail at the back of him. Doesn't want to lose too much time being stuck behind the RB while it's been under pressure from the top G. Here we are then, DRS enabled on the straight. The RB does have DRS, he's just in DRS range. As we make our way now on the straight, the ERS has been activated, overtake available. As we now go side by side, Electro Dan is up into P6. One car dispatched and about 5 more to go. There's a car in between himself and the top G. So top G then, his job is to get past Sonic Hawk. How easy or how difficult will it be? But Sonic Hawk does have the DRS to the back. But here comes the top G, then does not make it difficult for the Mercedes driver. Goes wheel to wheel into turn 4. And the top G immediately ahead, up into turn 4. Into P7 it goes, and right behind his rival for this race.
Yes, no, he's actually getting to terms with those new hard tyres and making them work, whilst he's taking advantage of everyone else on the older hard tyres and the medium tyres starting to struggle with them. So is this a time of where everyone's going to start chopping and changing for positions, as we have Oliver starting to try and line up Mindful Wasp in front of him in the Aston Martin, and hoping to make a move. However, they are going to be in a DRS change. As he does get the DRS, he's going to try and go around the outside. I don't think he's going to have enough space to do this, and he stays in P5 there, as we see Adams and Xenon having a bit of a battle down in P15 and P16 as well.
Mansell tries to go to the inside of Adams there, but gets a really good run. Almost puts the back of him. Electro Dan is ahead of Oliver. Here comes Mansell now. He goes up into P9 ahead of the McLaren driver. So compromised out of turn 1, but got a good launch out of turn 3, using the overtake available to him, and he puts himself into P9 there. So Keith has been demoted into P10. That safety car has really played hands into Mansell's hands, because he was on the soft compound tyres. He was dropping away, but now he's on the same strategy as other people around him, and a really good place too. He could be on course now for a podium or potentially the win, depends if he's got the pace. But the top G he's trying to overtake Oliver on all the tyres, so let's see that happens going down there into Judd Sau as we make our way now down Magulio. That's a fantastic corner. We've seen a few people crash there in the past. Roman Grosjean was one of them back in 2012, and also I think it was Fernando Alonso crashed there too in qualifying. But here we go, on the straight we go now. DRS enabled for all these drivers. The yellow flag, that's Casti, who's gone for a spin down there on that straight where Paul Di Resta crashed. We're going side by side with Mansell. Mansell has overtaken Sonic Hawk. Carver's overtaken Smoke. He goes up into P1, does the Sauber driver. Burmeister sits all over the back of him. These guys on the older hard compound tyres are scrapping away before they make their way in the pit lane onto a brand new set of medium compound tyres, looking to catch up if they can. But heck with Smoke now, back around the outside. Into turn 4 we go. Can Smoke take the lead? He can, but Carver's still there with a wheel-to-wheel action going on here. And now Smoke still stays in the lead of the Grand Prix. Unusual place for Smoke to be, unfortunately for him. But he started the hard compound tyres, took the risk. Here comes Oliver now on the inside of Electro Dan. He's fighting back with the guy on newer tyres, but the Haas just holds on there.
I was just watching that. I was on board with Electro down there, and I just see Oliver trying to make the move down the inside as he does again, trying to make the move down into that corner. He doesn't quite get the drive he wants out of that corner, as now Electro Dan is all over the back of Mindful Wasp, and Mindful and Burmeister is all over the back of Calvin. As I think there's going to be another change for the lead into back straight as Calvin's got DRS. He's going to go alongside as Burmeister. Burmeister takes 2 for the price of 1 as he goes into turn 1 now. Burmeister is in the lead of the Grand Prix from P3 to P1.
Wow, what an overtake there from Burmeister. Calvin gets all squirrely in the curb, and here comes Smoke now back. Remember, Smoke and Burmeister were fighting for the Grand Prix at the Mexican Grand Prix, but this time it's got a completely different scenario. Those guys are on older tyres, and they have to make a pit stop for the mandatory pit stop onto a brand new set of medium compound tyres. We're almost halfway to this race. The guys on older tyres, this has not worked out for them at all. They'll be playing another safety car to bring them back into play. Here's Oliver trying to go for another move, and here comes the McLaren driver. Keith tries to look on Manso. Zena picks himself up a 3-second time. This is great action here. The guys on older tyres versus people on newer tyres, as there's a Williams defending. That's Oliver not giving up whatsoever against the Brad G. He's not giving up whatsoever on those old hard compound tyres. Gives a bit wide at Magulio before we head downhill into Junsao. As we exit Junsao now, let's see what happens on the straight. They're all the DRS range of each other. Guys with different tyres. Mindful Wasp, so 60 lap old tyres by the way. His tyres must be going off the cliff. Here comes Electro Dan now, the back of the Aston Martin, as we head onto the main straight, headed into the first corner. Smoke takes it into the Grand Prix side by side with Williams, carving over the inside. Mindful Wasp later breaks, and here comes Electro down around the outside, takes away P4 away from the Aston Martin driver. Calvin's on the grass there, loses multiple places. He drops himself all the way down the order now, got on the grass, and Burmeister up into P2. Electro down back at the podium, as here we go down into turn 4 we go. Brad G around the outside, but he can't quite make it stick. And he has to settle for P6 there. Here comes Oliver on Mindful Wasp, but he can't quite make it stick either. Mindful Wasp is really struggling the medium compound tyres. They're all bunched up on different tyres. And this is great action. Here comes the Salvin up the inside. That's Calvin racing up the inside of Mansell, but Mansell covers him off. Has the inside line for the next corner there as we exit wheel to wheel with the Salvin, the Aston Martin heading down into turn 10 we go. And Mansell should have the grip around the outside to maintain that position, but here he is, a better exit out of turn 10 we go into turn 11, and it just edges him out. But we're Calvin up the inside into Junsao. He does not do it. Wow. Great action on the whole field there. I'm surprised with all these guys. Mindful Wasp was a great job to stick in DRS range on them old hard compound tyres, medium compound tyres, sorry, as we head onto the main straight once again. Electro Dan's looking for the lead of the Grand Prix, but here comes Burmeister, retains the lead of the Grand Prix, and Dan is sitting patient there, does not want to risk contact at all with people on different tyres. Mindful Wasp gets a really bad exit, and will Oliver be all at the back of him going out of turn 3. And here comes the Brad G now, side by side with Oliver on the main straight, as here comes Smoke now on the leader. He puts himself back into first place, and here comes Top G overtaking Oliver into turn 4 we go. There is so much action, you don't know what to look for, and off the track goes Top G, but trying to get all of the back of Mindful Wasp, but he can't quite do so. He needs to overtake these guys to stay with Electro Dan. Mindful Wasp again with Calvin Racer, that's Mansell, sorry, this time on the outside line going out on turn 8. I'm surprised these guys on all the hard compound tyres are able to fight despite the tyres being so old there. Keith taps the back of the Sabre driver, puts him out of shape, gets a bad exit, and Mansell survives another day, stays in P7. This is great action here. This is fantastic racing for the whole of them. All these guys on different strategies, all fighting out for different positions here, different scenarios, different strategies in this race, and yet they all go for gold, even though people on all the tyres are compromised because they don't have the safety car, unfortunately, to help them. Here comes Top G, doesn't go for the move. Down the inside goes Oliver, makes contact there with the Mercedes driver. Laser brakes, tries to throw from Mansell, but now he lost the place towards him, and Mansell's back up. Here comes Burmeister on Smoke again. Back into P1 he goes before they head off on the medium compound tyres. But wow, these guys all scrapping away. More contact here. Calvin Racing. Here comes Keith from the inside. Puts himself back into P8 ahead of Calvin Racing. Sonic Hawk is looking at the action too. Look at that. A DRS train from first all the way down to 16th place. All these guys are bunched up. But look at that. Lee Williams. And he makes contact. And he spins Mansell. Mansell's been put in a spin. Unfortunately, Oliver outbreaking himself. and takes out the Aston Martin. I feel so sorry for the Aston Martin there. Oliver being a bit too aggressive and has taken out the championship contender, unfortunately. Mansell will be so furious. An innocent bystander in that one. Look at that. Weaving left and right, he's very angry indeed. He has the right to be angry.
He certainly does, and Oliver, he tried to do the right thing and give him the place back, but Mansell isn't really not happy with that move. But yeah, I think that's going to be one for the stewards to decide, and hopefully he can try and bring himself back up into contention for those vital championship points. As I'm on board here with Adams all over the back of Energy Dan as he comes down into coming up to turn 4 now. He's going to try and go around the outside. He doesn't do it, so he's just trying to be mindful of everyone else around him, as he is on 1 lap older tyres than Dan. However, goes around the outside and he makes a move stick.
Oh, what's the scenario now? So Brad G has finally disposed Mindful Wasp. Now he's trying to catch Smoke. Electro Dan and Burmeister, he finally disposed him so he could catch up towards Electro Dan. Electro Dan looked like he was the favourite to win here because you know that Top G was stuck in traffic. But now, can he catch towards the back of this pack? Electro Dan has to overtake Burmeister to put 2 cars in between himself and the man who's fighting for the lead of the Grand Prix, Klusler. And Energy Dan has lost 2 places there. Dino Bino Bambino, what's happening?
Xenon and Energy Dan, they had a bit of contact coming out of that final corner just before they come into the pit lane. As Xenon goes into the pit and Energy Dan, they don't really make contact to make each other have any damage. However, it was a bit of a squeaky bum moment, should we say, for both of the drivers.
And Keith overtaking on the grass there, ahead of Mindful Wasp, puts himself into P4. Keith is back on the podium now because Mansell is out of the way. And yeah, like Martin said, Electro Dan is driving smart because he's keeping composed, not making any rash moves, not trying to desperately overtake Burmeister and the guys on all the tyres there. He's waiting for the right moments at the right time. Is Electro Dan picking the guys off one by one, not going for any crazy moves, and now he's up into P1. But here is Alex Cooper versus Adams. Adams trying to go around the outside of the Red Bull driver, going down into turn 10 we go between the Red Bull and the McLaren. Who gets ahead of who? Adams gives Alex Cooper the squeeze, and he puts himself into 8th place. A great recovery drive for Adams despite a drive-through penalty. Where else can he get himself up the order? Maybe up to P5 or P6, because remember, those guys have a pitted jet. The guys are slid out under a safety car, hoping that second safety car set. Carvin's ahead of the Aston Martin. Here comes the RB. Here comes Sonic Hawk now. The Aston Martin slowing down for some reason. Has he picked himself a puncher? Let's have a look to see what's happened to Mindful Wasp. I can't see anything on the Aston Martin.
He's dropping down the order as he's got Cluster going up on the inside. As who's that? Who spun round? The RB of Sonic Hawk spun round out of turn 3, I believe there. As Mindful Wasp is ahead of both of them, and I think he's playing about with his DRS a little bit there.
Critical moments just happened in this race. Keith in P4 has picked himself up a 3-second penalty. Could this be the podium for Adams? Despite a drive-through penalty, he's in P6. Calvin, Burmeister have not pitted just yet, so that's 2 more places gained once those 2 pitted. Then there's the McLaren teammate Keith, who's got a 3-second penalty. Adams could be on the podium despite having a drive-through penalty. What a comeback drive from the McLaren driver.
Yes, absolutely. I think he's gonna use those penalties for himself there. Obviously, you're gonna have Burmeister who's gonna be pitting. You got Electro Dan who will move into P1. Then you've got Top G as he will go into P2, and then Keith. Obviously, he's already pitted and he's on those new hard tyres. However, he has got himself those 3-second time penalty. So hopefully Adams can try and keep himself clean and just be clean with the corners now and not get himself a penalty.
Electro Dan has a 2-second gap towards Lord Brother Top G. Can the Top G close down Electro Dan? Does he have the pace? Does he have the raw pace to try and get that gap under 2 seconds, get himself in DRS range and fight for the lead of the Grand Prix? He has been compromised after being stuck behind people on all the tyres. That's the consequence, and that's the risk, unfortunately, when the safety car comes out with people staying on all the tyres there. But Electro Dan, what a fantastic job, being very smart, being very composed, not making any sort of silly mistakes behind people on all the tyres, not going for any desperate dive bombs, try and trying to put a distance between himself and the top G as well. The gap is 2.1 seconds. Let's keep that in our minds, and let's see what happens there. Can the top G bring the gap down, or will let you down have it covered? But bearing in mind, though, he does have Keith on the rear of him, so it might put him under pressure there. But we'll Keith and top G try and work together, try and swap DRS, trade DRS, get closer towards Dan. And Adams, the gap is 2.7 seconds there, so he needs that gap under 3 seconds. Here comes Keith now. I think he's putting a move on. Yes, he is. Into turn 1 he goes, puts himself up into second place. But bearing in mind, these two cannot afford to fight in the corners. They need to trade DRS on the straight. There's somebody spun. That's seen him there. Out of Judd Sal. And let's have a look, see how he did it. Just goes off the track. Top G is back ahead. Puts himself back in second place there. Great swapping DRS to D. Klusler is ahead of Energy Dan. Puts himself into P7 ahead of the RP driver. Here comes Manso back on the inside. And that's a very close squeeze there. Manso trying to go on the inside, but Energy Dan tries to close the door. But now he's alongside about turn 4. Going into Ferradora. Let's see. Can he try to swing around the outside? Energy Dan lays on the brakes there. Keeps the throttle pinned and stays there in P8. This is a shame for Manso. Looking for a podium after starting the soft cold power tyres, but got taken away from him ever since I think it was Oliver who made contact with him.
Yes, yeah, he's fair play to him. He's having a good comeback drive. However, that is mainly down to the guys who haven't already pitting, and hopefully he can try and get himself back up there. As we see Xenon now with a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting.
Yeah, the Ferrari driver not going his way, unfortunately. Let's see where he started, as Energy Dan is back ahead of Klusler. Here comes Mindful Wasp now around the outside into turn 1. That's great speed and momentum. And into turn 2 as the inside line. As Red Bull of Klusler hooks the inside line to turn 3 and stays ahead of the Aston Martin. Great defence there. I thought Mansell had it done. But Klusler came back into him with great defence. Atlas Copo, we haven't spoken about him, up into P4. He has pitted, can take these horses towards the end. He's been under the radar in this race, keeping quiet in P4, and could he be on course for a podium, because the gap is 3.3, needs a bit more time now to get that gap under 3 seconds. But if Keith keeps using the top G for DRS, he should be able to get that gap over 3 seconds there. So watch out between P3 and P4. Keith knows he has to keep that gap over 3 seconds to get a podium. But what about Adams in P5? What about Dino Bino Bambino in P6 there? Great drive from him so far.
Yes, definitely. I will admit, at the very beginning of the race, and when there was a load of action going on, the way you got that to roll off of your tongue, I was very impressed with that. But yeah, no, I was going to say, like we were saying, you got Adams, you got Dino Bino Bambino and Atlas Copo all there for possibly the in contention for P3. They've just got to try and keep within that range, and whoever's in P4 and under those 3 seconds, and maybe a bit more, can get themselves on the podium.
Here comes Adams on the inside of Atlas Copa, puts himself into P4 between. But the more these guys fight in P4 and P5 going side by side, the better chance Keith stays ahead into P3. He's using the top G's as a DRS provider to try and drag himself away over the gap 3 seconds. Zena's retired in the pit lane, so no safety car on that occasion. If there is a safety car, that could really compromise Keith, because the pack will be bunched up once again and his podium chances will definitely be gone. So he's hoping that no safety car comes out, because otherwise that's a podium gone for him.
Yes, absolutely. I think there's going to be some drivers that might want the safety car to come out again. However, like you were saying, Keith's and the likes of Klusser as well, they'll be hoping not for a safety car, just so they can try and keep their positions. As Mansell gets a really nice drive out the final corner, he's going to try and go around the outside of Klusser, and he might get energy down 2 for the price of 1. He's going to try and do on to turn 1. He goes around the outside, and there's contact between him and Klusser. Oh, Mansell, he's really not having a great race here today. I do feel really, really bad.
I got scared there. I thought I got really scared because Zeno's car came in the pit lane and I didn't see it. And Keith looked like he was going to hit the back of him, so that was very scary indeed. But because of that, the gap's gone down to 1.9 seconds there. So because of that Ferrari being out there, I'm not quite sure if he was ghosted. If he did, I'm not quite sure actually, but if he did go through him, would he be ghosted or not? That's the question. But we're going to have to find out, because the game, unfortunately, when someone retires in the pit lane, it brings them out again. and the gap, that's cost them a lot because they slowed down on the brakes and they went off the track, both of them. And now Adams has brought that gap under 3 seconds. So I think Adams could be on course for a podium, or Alex Copo, or Dino Bino Bambino. That's really cost Keith and Top G because the gap between him and Electro Dan is 4.4 seconds now. So I think Electro Dan has got this covered, even with the 3 second tablet he can afford, but obviously he won't get it. He's got it covered now and should be able to take it home towards the end of the race.
Yes, absolutely. Electro Danny's had an absolute stunner of a drive today. That gap just keeps extending. It's now 4.5 seconds now. And yeah, hats off to him. He's had a really, really good drive today. But like we were saying, we can't round out Keeves, you can't round out Adams, you can't round out Alex Copo, as this is smoke going around the outside of Mansell. I think there's a little bit of a clip there, and Mansell's really struggling now. Burmeister now going up on the inside as Cassidy retires. What's happened there?
That's in the pit lane.
Is he retired in the pit lane? Yeah.
It is. So no safety car on that occasion, so that's safe for the time being. But Adams now, after starting down in P4, I believe it was? No, what am I talking about? P15. I didn't realise it about qualified. I really thought he started inside the top 10. But after starting out in P15, picked himself up a drive-through penalty, and our safety car really came out in his favours there to go on the hard compound tyres. And here comes Keith now on the back of the top G. It's turn 1 we go, but not a move happening there. But at the same time, that podium for Adams is not secure because he's got Alex Copo behind him. Alex Copo is going for his second podium of the season. Dino Bino Bambino on his first attempt here. Energy down up the inside of Klusler. Both made contact, and Energy Dan had to run out wide to pick himself a penalty. Here comes the other RP of smoke on fresher tyres, and let's see what happens. A bit of contact made there too, as he will take on Klusler down to turn 4. There's 2 moves there before turn 4, and puts himself into P7 there. The gap between him and Dino Bino Bambino, with his 6 laps, is 5.6 seconds. Is that doable? I don't think so. So I think the 4th, 5th and 6th are safe for the time being. There is only 6 laps left to go in this race.
Yes, I'm just watching Burmeister now. He's all over the back of Energy Dan. He's going to try and make a move here onto the inside. Is he going to make it stick? He does. There's a little bit of a pushing and shoving there. However, he's going to try and continue around the outside. I think Burmeister's rear wheel just caught Dan's front wing there, causing Dan to spin round and brings Mansell back up into P10 now.
Oh, Alex Copo trying to play the smart game as we go down towards turn 1, just sitting behind Adams there to regenerate the battery, save ERS before the end of the Grand Prix. But at the same time, he's got to watch out for that 2.5 second gap because at the same time, Keith is using the top G's DRS. Here comes Alex Copo now, and he puts himself up into P4 and net P3. It all depends what happens. Can Keith, despite an error going down to turn 4 a few laps ago, Mindful Wasp, I think, is spun at turn 2. That won't do Keith any favours. It's a virtual safety car, not a safety car. Mindful Wasp is in the one at turn 1, and Aston Martin's day go from bad to worse, unfortunately, for those guys there, as it was a Brazilian Grand Prix. But Lawrence Stroll put it in the gravel of the formation lap, and Alonso struggled in the race too, and in qualifying when they both crashed. But a VSC has came out now, and let's see then what happens within 5 laps left to go in this Grand Prix. Who will get 3rd place? Will it be Keith? Will it be Copo? Will it be Adams? Or Dino Bino Bambino on his first race here? A great name, by the way.
Oh yeah, amazing name. I absolutely love that name. Yeah, it's going to be a close one. You got Atlas Copo, who's 1.7 behind Keith at the moment, and then you got Adams with 1.4 behind Copo. It's going to be interesting as Smoke goes into the pits now. I wonder if he's pitting into the soft strong, go for the fastest lap here. But yeah, no, it's going to be really, really interesting at this moment in time. See what happens.
It's a double Albion pit stop and a double blow for Energy Dan because Smoke is serving a penalty in the pit lane, so Energy Dan has to wait a lifetime in the pit lane as Smoke goes on the soft compound tyres. I presume Dan will too. DRS is enabled. We can get back to race conditions then. And Keith has been dropped outside the 1 second range of DRS. Can he bring himself back into play? He needs the DRS off the back of Top G to try and pull away from Alex Copo to get that gap over 3 seconds. But the gap is 2 seconds so far, so it'll be very, very difficult to break away and pull 1 second of the rest of the guys there. Keith, who's been dipping out under 3 seconds, over 3 seconds. But however, Electro Dan has driven a beautiful race so far. Credit to him in P1 there for driving an outstanding Grand Prix, just keeping calm, keeping his nose clean, not going for any erratic moves on people on all the tyres, picking his way off one by one. Adams now overtakes Alex Copo, puts himself back into 4th place. But I think it depends who's in front of the last lap of the Grand Prix, who will get P3 out between these two. But the gap is the gap's gone to 2.6 again, so it keeps fluctuating. Sometimes it goes under 2 seconds, then it almost goes towards 3. So I have no idea what's going to happen there.
Yes, no, definitely. The gap it's fluctuating. He's trying to keep it so that he's got enough battery. I think he's going to try and keep it so he's got battery on the last lap, just to try and edge himself out that little bit more, to get that podium over his teammate Adams. As we are now watching here, Burmeister and Kluser. Burmeister on 9-lap-old softs now, as he's all over the back of Kluser. And Mansell's just watching now. I think his tyres are starting to go off, as he had a little moment there coming out of that corner. But yeah, no, Burmeister all over the back of Kluser. He's trying to do his very best to try and get fastest laps or get more points than Mansell to try and make sure that he is the champion at the end of this season.
And Adams there, 2.8 seconds away. The two Dutches of Burmeister and Kluser swap places. Burmeister on a new set or old set of soft compound tyres in P7, surprisingly, making those softs work. 10-lap hold is a long way to go on the soft compound tyres, especially for those tyre compounds. But the gap is 3 seconds. I think Keith is doing a really good job in P3 here, just sticking behind Top G. Use the DRS. I think he needs to save battery in the last few laps. Try and get that gap securely over 3 seconds to get a podium. The gap keeps going under and over. 3 seconds there. Keeps fluctuation all the time. I have no idea who will end up on the podium, but Keith could keep it. But does he have the outright pace to do so? Indeed. Using the Top G there. Are these two the part with each other? Adams and Keith. Melissa Harrison, if the chat would know about it if these two deploy together. Are they working together? I'm not quite sure, but however, here comes Adams out of John's side. Now the gap is 2.5 seconds. He does have DRS, well, Alex Copo does. Alex Copo is quite far away, 8/10 of the gap. Under pressure though from Dino Bino Bambino in the Ferrari on his debut here to replace Emils. Sadly for Emils, does not make it here in Brazil, but outclassing his teammate Zeno. Zeno's retired, the main lead Ferrari driver. But on the debut here for Dino Bino Bambino in P6, doing a really good job so far. Could be on course for P5, P4, or maybe a podium, but he's stuck in third in the DRS train, so they're able to go forwards as the guy ahead of him is carrying the same speed as him, so he can't really overtake him, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, 100%. It's just sort of a case that when you do get in these DRS trains, like you save battery, you wait for someone to make a mistake, or you save your battery and you use it for when you do get DRS down a long, nice, a nice long straight. And he'll be hoping to try and get that P5 from Atlas Copo. However, I do think with Keith and Adams, it's going to be a last lap dash for Keith to try and get himself out of that 3 second time frame as such, and hopefully trying to keep on hold of that P3 for him.
We're on the final lap of the Grand Prix, and here comes Atlas Copo now. He puts himself into P4 ahead of the McLaren driver. The gap is 2.8 seconds, but we know that Keith has DRS the back of the Top G. Keith has to use the battery, has to use the DRS, but Adams has picked himself up. A penalty, no podium for him. Atlas Copo could get a podium, but he's under pressure there from Adams. Will Adams go to the inside into turn 4? No, he doesn't. He stays behind the Red Bull driver. So the battle for the podium goes towards Atlas Copo versus Keith. The gap is 2.8 seconds, but the benefit is that Keith will get DRS to the back of Top G, onto John Sal, and all the way to the straight. Can Atlas Copo as Bambino Bambino goes off the
contact.
circuit. And Mansell has contact.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, no, Mansell and I think it was Burmeister or Kluser there, they just had a little bit of a tap there. And Mansell's day just goes from worse to even more worse, unfortunately for him. As Keith's now has that time just over 3 seconds, now dropped to 2.9. Can he try and have a final burst now to try and keep it over that 3 seconds? I'm not 100% sure if he's going to be able to do it now. As we have Atlas Copo. Atlas Copo gets it just into P3. As we have Electro Dan in P1 winning the Brazilian Grand Prix with Brad the Top G in P2. Atlas Copo snatches that P3 away from Keith's. Dino Bino Bambino on his debut in the Ferrari round Brazil in P5. Adams in P6, Burmeister in P7, Kluser in P8, Calvin in P9. Mansell unfortunately down into P10 with Oliver coming back into P11. We have Smoke in P12, Energy Dan in P13, Sonic Hawk in P14, and Mindful Wasp in the Aston Martin in P15. We did have 3 DNFs. We've got Cassidy, Zenon, and Ginger Tiger. Unfortunately, with the DNFs, yeah, how the tables have turned in the championship. And congratulations to Electro Dan with his win around this circuit.
Congratulations there to Electro Dan. Deserved a win. Kept very patient indeed. Pits off the drivers he needed to one by one. Pit his moment at the right time. And he kept himself over like pivotal 1 second range of DRS there. Congratulations. A fantastic win. And the Top G, not a win, but it's another podium for him. He can be very pleased with himself. Great pace so far. Good consistency, but unfortunately the wrong time and the wrong place. Fighting with guys over all the tyres. Ginger Tiger really flipped over the strategies. Put people in compromised positions where the hard runners had to stay out and they had no chance catching up towards the end. So there are your podiums then. Atlas Copo gets the podium in the end, surprisingly, because Keith had the DRS at the back of the Top G, but wasn't able to utilise that. I think he ran out of battery towards the end. Did Keith, and Atlas Copo saved some, and he put himself on the podium there. Great race from the Red Bull driver, Dino Bino Bambino. Fantastic race from the Slovakian driver, who finishes in P5 and P11, and outclasses his teammate too. Adams, the Scotsman, in P6, a drafting penalty after started on P15. Went to last, back up into 6th place. Could have got a podium, but unfortunately that penalty cost him. Burmeister 7th ahead of Kluster. Carvin in 9th ahead of Mansell in 10th place. Oliver 11th ahead of Smoke. Dan in 13th. Sonic Hawk in 14th. Mindful Wasp 15th place with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Cassidy 16th. Well, actually a TNF, unfortunately for him. Zinneman P17, Junior Tiger 80th place. There are your classifications. I really hope you enjoyed that race. That was an incredible race indeed. And that was one of the races of the season for me, because we had so much action all through the field, especially with mixed people on different tyres. And that was really spiced things up in the midfield there and at the front of the field too, where people on newer tyres had to make their way through quickly, but safely too, not to make sure they make any contact, because we've seen plenty of contact between people on newer versus older tyres. I am surprised, when people on older tyres defend so hard. I thought that you focus on people on the same strategy as you, but not when someone's on newer tyres, because it's inevitable. You're just delaying the inevitable slightly there, I dare say, when you fight with people on newer tyres.
Yes, yeah, no, when you're fighting with people on newer tyres, it's hard. Obviously, you do want to try and keep them behind, to try and keep your position for a little bit longer. However, that doesn't always work out, unfortunately, as some of them have learned tonight.
Unfortunately, I am not doing podium interviews. You're going to have to wait. You're going to have to wait till next Tuesday when I'm fully better, because I'm still ill. Doesn't sound it, but I've still got the cough and I've still got the sniffles. So I think next week I should be okay. And Simo, thank you so much for commentating me tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, no worries. No, it's been an absolute pleasure being back in the comms booth with you again, and I'm hoping to be back with you next Tuesday as well for the following round.
Austrian Grand Prix is the next race, and yeah, we'll join you back live tomorrow, me and Owen Mansell, tomorrow at 7:30 for Division 1 for the Brazilian Grand Prix. I believe Beremy won last season. Can he do it again? But Beremy has been struggling this season, so let's see what happens this season for him. But we'll see you all later. Have a good night, and take care.